Hey guys, it's Brandon from GreaterMix.com. Today I wanted to talk about a mixing technique I call the 2EQ approach. The main idea of this technique is to use two different EQ plugins. With the first plugin, you remove the bad frequencies, and with the second plugin, you enhance the good ones. If you've ever had a track that you know needs EQ, but you didn't know where to start, this technique should help. Let me show you a few examples of what I mean. The first example I have is a male vocal. Let's have a listen to the original track.
Cause it's not what it seems, hey, you gotta believe I've got a plan, we can stay here, everything's free. Because it's not what it seems, hey, you gotta believe in me.
So the first thing we're going to want to do is remove the unnecessary frequencies in the track. To do this, I'm going to use a graphical EQ so I can easily hone in on problem frequencies and correct them. The 7-band EQ3 included in Pro Tools will work great for this purpose. Since this is a vocal track, the first thing I'm going to do is place a high-pass filter at around 100 Hz. Typically on a vocal, you'll never find anything useful down there, and this will clear up more room for my kick and bass tracks later. I'm going to play the track and sweep up the high-pass filter until I start to hear a change in the actual vocal, and then back down a bit.
Cause it's not what it seems, hey, you gotta believe I've got a plan, we can stay here, everything's free. Because it's not what it seems, hey, you gotta believe in me.
Another thing I hear in the vocal is a bit of resonance, especially at the "in me" at the end of the chorus. Let's have another listen.
Cause it's not what it seems, hey, you gotta believe I've got a plan, we can stay here, everything's free. Because it's not what it seems, hey, you gotta believe in me. Hey, you gotta believe in me.
So I've done away with the problem frequencies, and now it's time to enhance the track. To do this, I'm going to use a second, different EQ. This time, I prefer using an EQ that is a bit more musical, so I can focus more on what sounds better instead of what looks better. The VT3 from Massey Plugins is just about the simplest EQ you can get, and it doesn't mention specific frequencies, so I can concentrate more on the sound. It also has wide Q curves, so the changes sound less surgical. I'm going to use the middle knob to increase the presence of the vocal.
Cause it's not what it seems, hey, you gotta believe I've got a plan, we can stay here, everything's free.
Now I'll boost the treble knob a bit, and use the trim fader to fix the increase in volume caused by boosting those frequencies.
Cause it's not what it seems, hey, you gotta believe I've got a plan, we can stay here, everything's free. Because it's not what it seems.
That's sounding a lot better. Let's listen to the before and after.
Cause it's not what it seems, hey, you gotta believe I've got a plan, we can stay here, everything's free. Because it's not what it seems, hey, you gotta believe in me.
So now I have an EQ'd vocal using two different EQ plugins. With the first plugin, I took the time to hone in and correct any problem frequencies, like removing unnecessary information and quieting any resonance from the room. With the second EQ plugin, I boosted the mids and the treble so they cut through the mix better. Let's take a look at a different example, this time with acoustic guitar. Let's listen through a portion to get an idea of what we're working with. So based on the contents of this song, I know that I'm going to want this guitar to sound brighter and more open. For this track, I'm going to use the Oxford EQ as my first EQ plugin. Like before, I'm going to high pass at around 100 Hz to make room for my kick and bass tracks later. Again, I'm also hearing a bit of resonance on this track, so I'm going to dial in on it and correct for it. Now that I've corrected for any problem frequencies, for my second EQ, I'm going to use one of my favorite plugins, the Moog EQ4. I really like the EQ4, especially for its air band, which sounds great on acoustic guitar. I'm going to boost the air band at about 20K until it sounds right. I'm also going to add a bit of 2.5K to brighten up the mids a little bit. Lastly, I'll use the level trim to bring the volume down back to where it was before. That sounded great. Let's compare with before and after. So those are just a few examples of how you can use this technique. The 2EQ approach uses two different EQ plugins on the same track. With the first plugin, you cut frequencies, and with the second plugin, you boost frequencies. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, and let me know what kinds of videos you'd like to see in the future.